We hope you're enjoying your time at Google Cloud Next. Welcome to our session on sovereign controls for Google Workspace. I'm Ganesh Chilakapati, a group product manager on the Google Workspace team, and I lead our sovereignty, privacy, and compliance products. In today's session, we will help you understand how you can solve for your digital sovereignty needs with Google Workspace. We will cover how data location falls short of meeting all the facets of sovereignty. We will walk through an overview of our sovereign controls, their roadmap, and end with a demo showcasing how you can use a couple of these key controls. Let's get started. Digital sovereignty is a topic that's top of mind for many of our customers and governments around the world. When thinking about digital sovereignty, these organizations have three key priorities in mind: authority, confidentiality, and security. When it comes to authority, organizations want to ensure that they have completely unhindered access to their own data within their jurisdiction. In terms of confidentiality, organizations are looking to prevent unapproved foreign access to their data. Lastly, organizations want persistent security and privacy of their data. You cannot have sovereignty without security. So enabling end-to-end security without any compromises is an absolute must-have. Now, there is a belief that just in-country data location alone provides digital sovereignty. Looking at these needs, it is fairly clear that in-country data location cannot address all these sovereign needs or requirements, especially needs like confidentiality and security. Moreover, for SaaS productivity solutions, in-country data location by itself presents a broken promise. We say this because the last mile of IT infrastructure presents significant challenges that come in the way of true or full data locations for SaaS solutions. One such scenario is the heavy reliance that competing SaaS solutions have on thick installed clients. With deployments that rely on thick clients to function properly, sensitive company data ends up being stored on end-user devices in a persistent manner. So when a user travels beyond their country's geographic boundaries, their data also travels with them, violating in-country data location. Additionally, this also opens them up to a security threat vector of device compromise. Mobile device notifications present another scenario where data location gets compromised. Look at the mobile device you use today. Isn't it made by a company that is different from your SaaS provider? It is pretty likely that it is. It's not just you. In fact, most users today use mobile devices that are not made by the same company as their SaaS provider. To serve notifications on these mobile devices, key enterprise data from every single email and from every single file is sent to the mobile device company's notification servers. These servers are completely outside the SaaS provider's ecosystem, and therefore out of the control of that SaaS provider. So all in all, instead of full data location, organizations are essentially getting a copy of data within their country from their SaaS provider, with other copies outside their geography in all these end-user devices and third-party notification servers. This is one of the key reasons why simply asking the question, "Where does my data reside?" will not suffice. An equally important, if not more important question is the one that asks, who has access to my data and how do I control it? At Google Cloud and Google Workspace, we take a differentiated and much more holistic approach to digital sovereignty. We're making differentiated investments to build out sovereign controls that span across three pillars: data sovereignty, software sovereignty, and operational sovereignty. Firstly, data sovereignty ensures that you have complete control over all access to your data and the residency of your data storage and processing. We do this through our client-side encryption and data regions offerings. Secondly, software sovereignty gives you survivability, which is the ability to operate without a hard dependency on your cloud provider's software when disasters or black swan events occur. We will enable this by providing you an in-country copy of your workspace data. Lastly, operational sovereignty equips you with the visibility and control over SaaS provider operations. We will do this through our access controls capabilities. Now, let's spend a few minutes walking through each of these sovereign controls. Let's begin with client-side encryption. Google Workspace is leading the way on data sovereignty with our client-side encryption feature that allows customers to have total confidentiality and complete control over all access to their data. We provide our customers with this authoritative privacy control by making them the sole owners of encryption keys that they can hold on-site, within a nation's borders, or within any other boundary they define. Google never has access to the keys or key holders, which means the data is completely indecipherable to us, and we have no technical ability to access it ever. In short, client-side encryption makes you the ultimate arbiter of all access to your data. This is as private gets. It's important to note that we deliver this level of encryption without the need for legacy desktop clients. Despite having no access to your data, we still maintain the high-quality experience of seamless communication and collaboration for all your users, with features such as online co-authoring. You will see client-side encryption live in action shortly in our demo. It is a sovereign control that I am personally very excited about. Google Workspace data regions already allows our customers to control the storage location of their covered data at rest. We will enhance this capability for the EU by the end of 2023 through expanded coverage of data storage and processing in region. Additionally, we will give you the ability to store an in-country copy of your workspace data through a continuous data export to a Google Cloud storage bucket of your choice. This copy can only be accessed by you or anyone else you grant permissions to. The ability to independently hold your encryption keys and a full copy of your workspace data not only gives you data sovereignty, it also meets your software sovereignty needs. Google Workspace has always adopted an open approach with support for a wide range of file formats, both proprietary and open source. We have a very high degree of fidelity and interoperability across platforms. All this essentially means that your in-country copy of data will enable you to survive black swan scenarios by smoothly transitioning off Workspace to a managed platform of your choice. When using any cloud-based service, organizations need full visibility and control over all forms of cloud provider administrative access to their systems. To meet these operational sovereignty requirements, we've built out our access controls offering. Access controls enables customers to restrict or approve all Google support access through access approvals. Secondly, it allows customers to limit support to personnel in a specified region through access management. And lastly, we generate comprehensive log reports on all data accesses and actions through our access transparency feature. As always, Google Workspace is highly committed to our partner ecosystem. We'll provide all these sovereign controls along with multiple partners. Our partners will help with critical capabilities and services like key management services for client-side encryption, management of your in-country copy, setup and monitoring of access controls, and other designated administrative duties. Earlier this year, in May, we first announced our sovereign controls for Google Workspace. As a part of that announcement, we made a commitment to invest in building out the necessary capabilities by the end of 2023 with a steady stream of ongoing launches. Since May, we've made solid progress on those commitments we put forth. Client-side encryption is already generally available for Drive, Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Meet, with Gmail and Calendar coming by the end of this year. We're building upon data regions for these applications with enhanced coverage for storage and in-region processing in the EU coming in 2023. On the operational sovereignty front, access transparency is already generally available. Access approvals to enforce rules for Google support will be available by the end of 2022. Additionally, we will give you the ability to restrict support to EU personnel in 2023. Lastly, in terms of software sovereignty, we already provide the ability to use a one-time export to get a copy of your workspace data. By the end of 2023, we will give you the ability to have an in-country copy in a Google Cloud Storage bucket of your choice. All right, enough with the talking for now. I'm sure all of you are waiting to see some of these sovereign controls in action. I would like to invite my good friend and teammate, Luke Camery, joining us all the way from New York, to showcase a couple of sovereign controls that help you address the key questions of how do I control access to my data. Take it away, Luke.
Thanks, Ganesh. Hi, folks, I'm Luke, the Senior Product Manager for Collaboration, Security, and Compliance. But for today, Ganesh and I will be playing the roles of employees of Symbol, an imaginary satellite company based in Europe that is a Google Workspace customer. Now, as an IT admin, I want to prevent Google and third parties from accessing our data. So for our finance unit, I'll enable access approvals because our quarterly earnings are extremely sensitive and confidential. Then for our research and development unit that deals with experimental regulated technology, I'm going to enable client-side encryption to ensure the utmost confidentiality. So first, let's set an access approval policy restricting Google Support staff's access to my finance unit. So I'm just going to choose my finance organizational unit, check this box, and hit save. Now, in rare instances, such as troubleshooting, where this is the only resolution, a Google employee would need to access our data. But in order for that to happen, you can see this approval card that Google will send for me for specific time-bounded access with a granular justification, which I can either reject or request additional information for and approve. Now, under the Unified Security Investigation tool, I can check the status of any data accesses. After setting up access approvals, I need to set up client-side encryption. And I can start setting up client-side encryption with the key service that was provided to me by my third-party encryption provider. So I'm going to go ahead and add it, call it the Research and Development Key Service, since that's the organizational unit I'm setting it up for. And after hitting Test Connection, I can hit Add Service, and I'm done. With legacy providers, you would have had to code this yourself or copy and paste lines of code. But with Workspace client-side encryption, you simply choose the URL that you want to run. Someone in your IT department or a third party, such as Thales, Atos, or Fortinet, could set this URL up for you. But next, I'll configure my identity provider, which in this case, I'll use Google Identity. But Workspace client-side encryption supports any OpenID Connect identity provider in open standard, and it works on any browser and any operating system. Now that I hit save, I'm ready to move on to the last step. So finally, I'm going to enable client-side encryption just for our R&D organizational unit, since that's where we need to achieve export control compliance. So I'll turn it on, I'll enable it by default, and I'll hit save. And I'm gonna do that for all of our apps, Drive and Docs, Calendar, Meet, Gmail, but only for our R&D organizational units. And now I'm done. I've set up both policies, and I did all of that in a few minutes without having to write any code or complex scripts. But now, let's switch over to the end user experience so we can see how users can stay productive and collaborate closely even in a sovereign environment. And I'm going to invite my colleague and friend Ganesh back to join me so we can show end user collaboration with client-side encryption. Now, our teams are working on building several satellites in Europe, so we want to make sure that anytime our R&D team works on satellites, all of our data is export control compliant with the strictest regulations. I myself actually need to share some important updates about our satellites, so I'm going to send Ganesh this client-side encrypted email, and I'm going to include a link to my encrypted doc, which you can see here, and with our nifty shield that you'll see along all of our encrypted products, you can always make sure that what you're working in is client-side encrypted. So let me send this off to Ganesh so he has context.
Great. Thank you, Luke. At my end, I dive into my Gmail inbox, and I see this email from Luke about our satellite project. I click on the email, and I notice that it's client-side encrypted thanks to the shield icon that Luke pointed out earlier. Let me respond to this note now. Looks like he wants to meet. Once I send my response off, I realize that Luke has also kicked off a document for these satellite updates. Let me dive into this document and take a look at it ahead of our meeting. I notice that this document is also safely and securely encrypted. Upon reviewing this document, I realize that this document is classic Luke. Luke never adds next steps. Let me go ahead and make those updates. Now, I've made a few next steps updates, and I'm hoping Luke will get the chance to take a look at these in our next meeting.
Now we have to have this update completed for our bosses by the end of the day. So I'm going to set up a meeting with Ganesh and see what he has to say. Now I've got the client-side encrypted calendar event. I'm adding Ganesh. And let me go ahead and attach our document so that he has context as to what we're talking about. And then I'll send it over to him. And thankfully, when you send a client-side encrypted calendar invite, the meeting is automatically client-side encrypted. But let's jump in, because Ganesh is probably waiting for us.
Hey, Luke. I'm glad we could meet live. I'm really worried about our update. It's due by end of day today.
Don't worry, collaborative client-side encryption is going to help. By the way, remember that this meet call is also client-side encrypted, which you can see with the shield in the top left-hand corner. So feel free to speak freely about the satellite project.
That's great. While I was waiting for you to set this meeting up, I made some changes and updates to our document. Do you want to take a look and let me know what you think of them?
Let me go ahead and present the doc. I saw your changes come in, which as always have your characteristic spelling errors. But thanks to the fact that Google Docs is able to offer real-time spelling suggestions, like you see here, without even sending the words to Google servers, I'll quickly resolve those to make sure the document is polished, and now it's ready to send off.
Amazing. Thank you, Luke. Now you can send this doc off to our bosses. It looks like our work here is done. As you just saw, Luke and I were able to collaborate together across Gmail, Calendar, Meet, Drive, and Docs in a highly private manner without any disruption to our usual workflows. Luke and I thank you for joining our session today, and we really hope you found it helpful in addressing your digital sovereignty needs. Enjoy the rest of your time at Google Cloud Next.